Hello, in this video, I will show you the improved functionality for managing warehouse locations. Previously, the system allowed the division of warehouses and sub-warehouses into sectors, rows, levels, or the so-called XYZ zoning. With our new functionality, we are introducing the ability for much finer customization of warehouse locations, as well as an improved method for labeling them. This allows Prim.io clients to accurately replicate their physical warehouses, as the positions of each item in the warehouse can now be distributed across an unlimited number of racks, sectors, rows, and locations. The logic for managing warehouses, sub-warehouses, and locations remains unchanged. They still adhere to the hierarchical tree structure. Each warehouse can have sub-warehouses, and each warehouse without sub-warehouses can be divided into locations. Similarly, every sub-warehouse can be divided into locations. Additionally, when storing items in a warehouse, regardless of the method, you will need to specify where the items will be arranged. During sales, you will indicate where the items will be taken from. All these processes are integrated to work with barcode scanners for quick and convenient operations, especially in the pick and pack process. Now, I will demonstrate how to work with precise warehouse location management. I will create a new warehouse, but instead of dividing it into sub-warehouses, I will directly indicate that it will have locations. This checkbox enables a more precise setup of warehouse locations. I save my example and go back to the list of warehouses. Here is the new feature. This button for location management, which contains our new functionality. Clicking on the button opens an interface where I can set the parameters of the warehouse. The first thing I can define is how the labels for my warehouse locations will be named and structured. Every client can use different labels depending on the size of their stock, whether it is kept on pallets or it's smaller and needs to be stored in baskets, or require another type of storage. All these labels depend entirely on the client's configuration. You can use our default labels or add your own. For now, we'll leave them as rack, row, and bin. The separator is the element that will divide the code representing the location. If you want to change its value, you can do so here, but keep in mind that the following characters are not accepted. I'll include them as a description under the video and in the help section of the system so you can have them handy. Once you've decided on the names of your warehouse locations and the separator between the elements of the code, you can also determine how the code itself will look like. When you mark the letters checkbox, the system will add a letter to the rack numbering. For example, if you have 3 racks, the first rack will start with the letter A, the second with B, the third with C. With prefix or signature, you can add elements before or after the label numbers. In the gray fields at the bottom left and right, you can see the smallest and largest values of the code based on the criteria you set up. This helps you track the settings you've configured. Now I'll add a signature to rack, another to rows, and another to bin. You can see how the location label is generated. Next, I'll disable these and focus on how to configure the locations themselves after deciding on their names and numbering. The warehouse layout is set up as follows. In the first field, you specify how many racks you will have. Let's imagine my warehouse has 2 racks, each rack has 2 rows, and each row from the rack has 3 bins. If all your racks are identical, this setup is sufficient. However, if the racks in your warehouse differ, you can customize them by adding sectors. Here, an additional element has been added to the rack level. If the sectors differ in any way, I can highlight those differences by specifying that one of my racks has 1 sector, while the second rack has 3 sectors. I can also customize the next division of rows for each sector in the rack. These checkboxes divide the sectors and allow me to specify how many rows each sector of the rack has. I can also adjust the number of bins in each row. In short, each subsequent element further divides the previous element. I'll save these changes and show you how the locations appear now. I'll go to Logistics, Stock Availability, where I've already stored in this item. It hasn't been assigned to any specific location yet. The arrangement is done using this button. Here, I'll select that I want to assign one piece of my item to a specific location in my warehouse. This is how the newly created warehouse locations are displayed with the specific labels we have set. I hope the video was helpful. Until next time.